Hello tankers! Get comfy in your seats, it's time to check out a new episode of the Tanki Vlog. Today we'll be telling you about the roots of Tanki Online and sharing a new piece of pros advice on becoming an even better tanker. Let's go! Registrations for the 3-style tournament are opening next Tuesday, the 24th of November. To take part, you'll need to form a team of at least 7 tankers ranked major or higher and sign up using a special site. Get ready to battle it out in 3 totally different formats, with crystal prizes for every battle won and the acid paint as the main prize. You do not want to miss this one. Detailed info on the tournament will soon appear on TO's homepage. Follow the news. Next week in Tanki will definitely be all about esports, so we've decided that today's pros advice should reflect that. Here's a bunch of tips that will get you revved up for the tournament or simply teach you to play better. Check them out.
Hey guys, this is Criminal. Today we'll talk about the formats of the 3-style tournament and specifically about which format is best suited for each of the tournament's 7 arenas: Iran, Kanga, Rio, Serpihov, Assar, Parma and Barda. Let's start with Hornet or Wasp with Railgun in CTF. Ideal maps for this format are Kanga, Barda and Parma. They will let you fully use the potential of a light hull and long-range railgun. Iran is not a bad choice either, if you're okay with driving through the narrow streets. Now about CTF with any equipment and non-protective paints. This format is perfect for Kanga, Assar, Serpihov and Barda, thanks to the fact that an attacker can pick up a full set of supplies while driving to the enemy base. Rio is pretty good as well, but only because of the relatively compact size. And finally, control points with no limitations on equipment. This format will be awesome to play on Rio, Serpihov and Parma, mainly because 3 out of 5 points on these maps are quite close to each other, so they're easier to defend. The next point is equipment. Not much choice in Hornet, Wasp and Railgun, but the other 2 formats are pretty interesting. First, about hulls. For CTF without protections, it's better to go with light and medium hulls, as you'll need to drive a lot while stealing flags. As for CP, here it's largely about defending, so heavy and medium hulls are the way to go. With turrets, it's pretty similar. For CTF, pick medium and long-range weapons. For CP, something best suited for close combat, or medium range for more versatility. Remember, these are just tips to help you get started. It's equally important to pay attention to what equipment your rivals are using and to what map you're playing on. The most important thing is using your head. That's all from me. This was Criminal. Take part in 3-style and get ready to test your skill. Good luck!
We are always telling you about what lies ahead in Tanki Online, but sometimes it's nice to get all nostalgic and look back at where it all started. That's why, starting from this week, we'll be telling you about the history of Tanki Online, from its very first steps to relatively new changes. The first episode is ready, so sit back and enjoy.
Tanki Online's history began in the late 2008. A prototype called Tanks was developed. Its main purpose was to demonstrate the capabilities of Alternativa Platform's engine back in the day, the 5th version of Alternativa 3D. The demo's potential was obvious. Developers got obsessed with the idea of creating a full-scale MMO action and began working on what would eventually become Tanki Online. Closed testing of TO started in May 2009. At the same time, Tanki's developers took part in the biggest gaming expo in Russia at the time, Russian Games Developers Conference 2009. They took home 2 awards, Best Game Without a Publisher and Best Technology. Tanki Online was officially launched on the 4th of June, just a month after testing began. This is what it was like. The game was in English only. The Russian version of TO was launched later. The game only had 4 turrets, Smoky, Firebird, Twins and Railgun, and 4 hulls, Wasp, Hunter, Titan and Dictator. Moreover, all of their modifications looked the same. The models of M0 and M3 Wasps were identical. Tanks were equipped with engines which affected their dynamics. Later, for the sake of simplification, engines were joined with hulls. Tanks needed repairs, which were paid for with crystals. This feature was also removed after a while. Paints only affected looks. Protections against turrets were added several months later. The game's balance was very different from what it is now in terms of prices, parameters and availability. For example, M3 Smoky could be purchased for 300 crystals and became available at the rank of Staff Sergeant. At the beginning, the game had about 10 maps, many of which were named after towns in the Perm region, the game's place of birth. Barda, Solikamsk, Assar and Gubaha are still in the game. There were only 2 game modes, DM and TDM. CTF battles were introduced 2 months after the launch. TO included 27 ranks, from Recruit to Marshal. The first player to achieve the top rank was T7000. Railgun was called Fear Machine and was impressive in its size. The turret was just huge. The Wasp and Railgun combo looked comical, almost like an insect, which is where its nickname, the Mosquito, comes from. The game was different from the current Tanki in terms of technologies as well. Hardware acceleration and updated client-server interaction were added much later. But of course, the game was improving step by step. In autumn, Isida joined the existing arsenal of turrets. At its testing stage, the turret looked like a real monster, like the claw of some beast. Thankfully, this model was scrapped and replaced with Isida as we know it now. By the way, the turret was pretty imbalanced back in the day. Dictator and Isida in digital was considered almost impossible to defeat. 2009 also marked the birth of all of Tanki's main movements. This is when the first clans appeared in the community, Kolkhoz and TD42. The first clan championship was held. About the same time, the Parker movement was born. Of course, tricks were much simpler back in the day, rarely getting more complicated than building a tower of tanks. On the 3rd of December, gold hunting was born, with the introduction of the gold box. Its value was 1,000 crystals, which is equal to 10,000 in current TO, but just a couple of weeks later it was decreased to 100 crystals, or 1,000 in today's currency. The year ended on a major note. In the late 2009, work on the new game, Tanki 2.0, began. However, the project was eventually cancelled. The ideas planned for Tanki 2.0 would instead be implemented in the existing game, step by step. But that is a different story. A story about what awaited TO in the new year of 2010. And you'll be able to hear it in the next episode of the vlog, so don't miss it.
Time for the video of the week. Let's check out the best clip you guys sent us since last episode. It seems like your best videos are those that are not restricted by any topic, so once again, we are not giving you any limitations. Good luck! And finally, if you haven't heard yet, all through the weekend on the 21st and the 22nd of November, we are running a micro upgrade promotion. For 48 hours, all micro upgrades are available at 25% off, while speed-ups are at half price. So don't miss the chance to upgrade your tank's parameters at favorable prices. And that's all for this episode, tankers. Get ready for 3-style, upgrade your gear at discounted prices, and hit the like button if you loved this episode. See you in 7 days.